Jedi Padawan Nuru Kungarama and the clone troopers of Breakout Squad, Breaker, Knuckles, Sharp, and Chatterbox, are sent on a diplomatic mission to the unknown regions by Chancellor Palpatine. Traveling with renegade cargo pilot Lalo Gunn in the Hasty Harpy, the young Jedi and his clone escorts are in for an unexpected surprise as they encounter the infamous Black Hole Pirates.
Ahoy! And welcome to the Padawan Library, this sport's only junior novel podcast. I'm a really bad egg, Levi Paratic, and with me, fellow bad egg, Tim May.
Hello, yar.
Yar. We have a very pirate-centric episode for you today.
All right, so this is the podcast about Star Wars junior novels, and the Star Wars junior novel that we're reading this week is Clone Wars Secret Missions number 2, Curse of the Black Hole Pirates. Now, we always talk about movies that relate to the titles of these books that share some words. This title shares so many words.
This is the most.
With Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, the first film in the 5-film franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And
5 words this title shares with that movie.
So
5.
many. And yeah, directed by Gore Verbinski, starring Johnny Depp, Keira Knightley, Orlando Bloom, Jeffrey Rush, etc. So, and Zoe Saldana, who I forgot was in this movie. She is just in everything. She is just racking up. Can't wait for Avatar 2. All right. Before we get into this, I have something I need to read to the audience.
Okay. All right.
It's actually to one member of the audience who I hope is listening. This is an open letter to Orlando Bloom. Orlando, I would like to take this opportunity to apologize for my many public disparaging comments made about your person between the years 2002 and 2008. Now, have I really changed my mind about you? Do I still find your performance as Legolas the least compelling in the Lord of the Rings trilogy? Yes, I do. Do I stand by my assertion that Will Turner becomes a useless character in the Pirates of the Caribbean sequels? Sure. Do I still think your woeful miscasting was the death blow for the already shaky foundation of Cameron Crowe's Elizabethtown? Afraid so, my boy. However, after reviewing your work in the first Pirates of the Caribbean film, I have come to a conclusion. For 15 years, the industry has attempted to fill your shoes with an endless stream of faceless and charmless leading men, including Alex Pettifer, Dylan O'Brien, and most egregiously, Benton Thwaites in the 5th Pirates of the Caribbean film, Dead Men Tell No Tales. In The Curse of the Black Pearl, you exhibited remarkable charisma and acted as a remarkable counterpoint to the more flamboyant performances of Jonathan Depp and Jeff Rush. Indeed, this recent viewing of the film has confirmed that I have been too harsh on you. Please accept this apology and enjoy gallivanting on European beaches with Katy Perry and your giant penis. Sincerely, Tim. P.S. The Kingdom of Heaven director's cut is a masterpiece. Please pass this along to Sir Ridley.
All Jonathan Depp and Jeff Rush.
All right. I thought that would be an interesting place to open it up because I think he's probably the fourth person people think of acting-wise in this movie.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But I think it's his best performance, and he was a huge star at the time.
It's funny that you brought this up because, like, I think of all the characters in the movie, of all the mains, he's the one who I think of last.
Right. He's the least, well, I mean, obviously Jack Sparrow's the breakout character.
Of course.
Enough. Incredible performance.
Mm-hmm.
Barbossa, incredible villain performance.
Incredible villain. The fact that they kill him and they're like, we need this guy back in our series.
Well, we can maybe talk about that.
We don't need to. We really don't need to.
Yeah, there's already so much to get to. But, and, you know, Keira Knightley, Elizabeth Swann, huge breakout. I mean, she had been in a couple other movies before this, but
episode
including episode 1, yes. But she had, I feel like she was known outside of that even a little bit. I'm trying to remember what she was in before, right? I feel like she was in a fairly big movie right before this. Am I wrong about that? Or is this just kind of her breakout? But anyway, regardless, that's obviously her breakout, whereas Orlando Bloom obviously had already been in 2 Lord of the Rings movies by the time this movie comes out. So I don't think it's as much a part of his career arc.
Mm-hmm.
As with the other, because it redefines Depp's career for better and mostly worse.
Yeah.
And you know, Jeffrey Rush, I think for any non middle-aged middlebrow film consumer, this was their first exposure to him probably. So you know, but I think there's. But I have to say, because I used to talk shit on Orlando Bloom constantly, and, you know, part of it, I'm sure, was just, unfortunate teenage boy syndrome of, you know, if there's a hot guy that, you know, all of your friends who are girls think is hot, you're like, oh, my God. But I'm sure that's part of it. But he's also, it's not like he's Leo. I never fell for that shit with Leo, and I had friends who did, by the way. Plenty of people that talk shit about Leo late 2000s would talk shit about him because their fucking sister liked him or whatever. I was never like that with him. I always saw the greatness of Leo, so I want to say that for sure. So to some degree, it is that Orlando Bloom. He's very handsome and he can be very charismatic in the right context. And I think this is maybe the only context in which all of his gifts are utilized well. Is in this film, not the series. This film in particular.
No. The whole movie. Because they're always talking about his dad, Bootstrap Bill, who of course shows up in the sequels, and I'm trying to make the logic of the sequels make sense. And I'm like, no, just please remove yourself from this continuity. Just focus on this movie.
We don't need to talk about the sequels at length, but I think the biggest problem with them is that what they should have done. What they absolutely should have done is just do it an Indiana Jones model where the only character that's even carried over is Jack Sparrow and his crew, I guess, the Black Pearl crew. But Will and Elizabeth are the main characters that Jack Sparrow helps in the first movie. Right. And then you introduce new characters each time. And they kind of try to do that, I think, with the fourth one, which is the only one I haven't seen.
Yeah. The worst one, maybe.
Maybe I haven't.
Not that I've seen it, and it was
I've seen
pretty
the
bad.
Fifth one, weirdly, but but yeah, I just but I do think the attempt to make this into a huge mythology is such a whiff. It's such a bad idea. It's the charms of this movie are that it is very low key and just well crafted and fun with good character performances. And that's all that people wanted from this as a franchise. So it's weird that they were no, this is Lord of the Rings. This is it's no, it's not. It's not Lord of the Rings. So I wanted to also place this film kind of in the context of the time, 2003.
Yes. There was another another Disney-inspired ride movie that came out.
Of
that
course,
year
the Haunted Mansion. Yes.
Haunted Mansion.
So
The year before that, in 2002, was the Country Bears. So shockingly,
it was a peak era of that.
yeah, the Country Bears are the ones who kicked off this whole ride-inspired movie trend.
I've seen the Haunted Mansion. I have never seen the Country Bears.
I haven't either, and Country Bears is like one of my beloved Disney attractions, but
Sure.
that movie looks so bad
Yeah.
that I cannot
Although it's
bring
like kind
myself
of, from
to
what
it.
I understand, kind of the last hurrah of like animatronics in movies. Like it's the last movie that relied heavily on that kind of technology. So, but 2003 though, we complain a lot on this podcast about the current state of big budget movies and how it's all these big franchises. Let me read you the top 10 highest grossing films of 2003. And maybe we can reevaluate that to some degree. Number 10, Cheaper by the Dozen, the Steve Martin remake. Number 9, The Matrix Revolutions, which I like, but Number 8, this was shocking to me that this outgrossed Revolutions. Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines.
Wow.
I was shocked by this. Number 7, Elf. Number 6, X2, X-Men United. Still probably the best X-Men movie. Number 5, Bruce Almighty. I remember this vividly when Bruce Almighty came out. Huge! And I remember because number 4, Matrix Reloaded, came out the week before Bruce Almighty. Had the highest grossing R-rated weekend ever at the time. And then the next weekend, it dropped below the new Bruce Almighty. People were in shock. They're like, Jim Carrey still has it somehow.
Carrey is back.
This is the last, I would say, unqualified Jim Carrey hit that's like entirely on his shoulders, don't you think?
I agree.
Because like he's had hits since then, but I feel like they've been like, it's been different. I don't know.
Yeah, he's had so many weird ebbs and flows in his career. Like 94 is a big time, then he kind of peters out a little bit.
Like
and
98, 99 is huge. That's Truman Show and all that stuff.
And then he goes down a little bit again, and then he comes back up with Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, then Bruce Almighty.
Which is his best performance. But
right, and then he kind of disappears again.
Yeah, and I mean, since then, I feel like it's not that he's ever really bad when he shows up, but it's just like, he just feels like he doesn't, I don't know, whatever. If I were that fucking rich and famous, I wouldn't do anything either.
Well, he's back on top now after Sonic the Hedgehog.
He's great in that. I hate that movie, but he's great. Like, I thought that movie got way too much like credit for not being a complete atrocity. People were like, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen, therefore I like it. No, it's bad. Anyway, so number 4 was Matrix Reloaded. Number 3 is Pirates of the Caribbean.
All right.
Number 2, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. And 1 was Finding Nemo. So,
good year.
Not a bad year, but I'm just saying, still outside of Finding Nemo, Pirates, okay, Bruce Almighty,
yeah.
And
Elf. Cheaper by the Dozen.
Wait, no. Finding Nemo, Pirates, Bruce Almighty, and Elf are the only quote-unquote original films. And even Pirates is based on a theme park, right?
Based on a ride, yeah.
So if you take that out,
I forgot Cheaper by the Dozen's a remake. So
yeah, Cheaper by the Dozen's a remake, and even Finding Nemo, like Pixar had built a brand by that point, although their brand was like quality. So I don't like that's like a great director. I don't feel they now if a Pixar movie comes out and does well, I feel like that's pure that behaves like a franchise. But at that point, I think there's still enough of an authorial voice from like the 3 or 4 main dudes.
Right. Yeah.
But
I feel like Pixar's lost that a little bit. Definitely lost that a little bit.
Oh, well, I mean, it's a completely different.
Especially after Soul coming out, basically direct to video, like that was.
That's so weird that Disney is putting the Pixar movies out direct to Disney Plus, but their movies, the Disney animation movies, are coming out in theaters. That is baffling. Like that feels weird to pit your 2 studios against each other in that way. Like I don't know. Anyway, whatever. I just wanted to place us in that context. This movie, I remember when it was coming out, I don't remember a single person that was like, yes, I'm excited for this. Like, people got excited after they saw it because it turned out to be good. But like, I remember everybody being like, that's corny as fuck that they're making this ride movie. Like, Depp in a Disney movie, and remember Depp was still like cool at this time. Like this is pre like Depp becoming a parody of himself and then an unfortunate person. So it's like there's like in general. So I think there's like but like this is before like this his most recent like big hit at this time was Sleepy Hollow. So he was, and that was, and this was still again. This is so far back that Burton was considered still like an elite director.
Mm-hmm.
So. Like, even though you'd make Planet of the Apes by this point, but still, you know what I mean? It's like a kind of this is a distant time. I watched this movie felt so distinct from what is being made now, and we have an obvious comparison point that you're going to want to bring up, I know.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah. We'll get into that later, because I want to save that for the end a little bit. All right,
forever,
another attraction-based ride. I want to say there's no bad blood between me and the other our friend of the show. He's not a foe of the show, all right? But
we'll see.
But like, I also feel like this is something that's like, this movie is a blockbuster of a bygone era. We're filming on actual sets. We're filming out in the open ocean. It has such a beautiful quality to it, and I feel, and we're shooting on film still.
And the CG is great.
The CG is great.
John Knoll is a visual effects supervisor. John Knoll is maybe the greatest CG visual effects supervisor of all time. Should be noted, but I. Like
when we see the cursed pirates for the first
time,
they
look amazing.
That whole scene, the way that scene is choreographed is just exciting because you got the music set to it. The music in this movie is great too, by the way. I can't recall who the composer is at the moment.
It's like part of the house of Hans Zimmer. It's not him actually, but
yeah, well, Zimmer does one song in the movie.
Yeah, but like it's his studio, so a bunch of people made the music for it. But I thought though there was like I thought it was interesting that like when like near the end of the movie when Jack Sparrow gets cursed and becomes like skeleton Jack Sparrow, like if you like read about Lord of the Rings, like performance capture really wasn't there at that point. It was, but it wasn't super advanced, and honestly like King Kong is the real like full leap forward with it. And so they certainly were not doing that with Depp doing performance capture footage. Like, so the animators on that completely nail the performance. It's so impressive. I mean, obviously, I'm sure they shot like reference footage, but like they completely nail it. It feels seamless with the rest of the performance. It's like so impressive to me.
That's just like the whole movie. The whole movie's impressive. It's like,
well, Verbinski is a brilliant. Like, we should talk a little about Gore because like this guy is like an insanely talented like action filmmaker. You look at like even the Pirates sequels, which we've disparaged and I don't like, have incredible set pieces. Lone Ranger, which is not a very good movie, has one of the best set pieces I've ever seen. The big train heist is incredible. And like there's like he's just an incredible craftsman. And if you look even at his comedies, like Mouse Hunt or something is like beautifully directed. Like, The Rain is a great horror movie.
There's so much subtle comedy in this movie. There's one moment where it's wherever Jack and Will are under the boat and they're walking underwater, and it's inconsequential, but Will steps in like a crab trap, and then they have a shot to like where you see the barrel that's like attached to it, the float just float on by, and there's a kid watching like, oh, look at that, like just little silly moments.
Well, even just this is an obvious thing, but Jack Sparrow's introduction is one of the funniest like sight gags of all time.
Oh, I know,
it's incredible. Like, because you all know it. Everybody that's listening to this has seen this movie, but it's like, just like you're like, oh, he's at the head of a ship and all that stuff, and like the reveal that the ship is just about to fully sink as he steps onto the dock is so funny, and it's like so well directed. It's such a good misdirect. Depp does a great job, like with the like physicality of it. It's an amazing moment. It's like,
Not
it's
only-
like as good a character introduction as ever been in this kind of movie.
I know. I look at that and I just yelled, hard! Like, this dude is hard as nails. And there's also,
insane.
and you see the ship before it sinks, and like, because the way that initial shot of him is shot, he is just up on top of the ship's mast, wind blowing in his hair, and then you look and it is like the tiniest boat ever, and it is sinking. Like, that is how you do it.
It's
And then
so
another great initial scene is when the Jack is evading capture, and him and Will have their first sword fight in the blacksmith shot. Because
that's my favorite, like, just action in the movie. It's such a good.
It goes all over the shop, and
Ugh.
they utilize every piece of the shop. They're seesawing, they're up in the rafters, they're everywhere, and it looks so great.
It's just amazing to see something where it's clear that the people involved, and I don't want to just give Gore all the credit. I'm sure there's choreographers, everything, but the people involved clearly put real thought into the story the action sequence is telling. You know what I'm saying? Like, and actually thought about what is this going to reveal about our characters? What, like, you know what I mean? This is just like these are the core tenets of what great action on film is, and it is completely ignored in modern blockbuster filmmaking. It doesn't. No, they do not think about this. Like, even in like otherwise pretty good movies, like the action is often flat and doesn't advance the character because they think, oh, we need an action scene so it can advance the plot. Action is like dance in a musical, like a musical number. It's about revealing character. It's like, obviously, if you can also advance the plot at the same time, then you get into like true, like James Cameron level, like cheering, like headbanging in the theater, like going as hard as it gets. But like, but like, in general, like, the core focus should be like, okay, well, you look at it like a Jackie Chan movie. His action sequences, like at his peak, are all about revealing the character, not revealing his character, revealing the villain's character, all of it, and like that is just what this movie does that expertly, and even the sequels, you know, have at least one or two sequences like that in them, which is. Like, you just don't see it. You just don't see it.
No. And then it's also like there's all the characters, you have this ensemble cast. So you have Barbossa's crew, which has our two jokey pirates. There are a little band of like silly pirates there who are constantly providing comedy. But not only that, the British Royal Navy also has two lackey pirates with them as two. Like, they each have their own set of two lackey pirates. Then you have the Commodore, who is like the most unlikable guy ever. This guy does such a good job at being just just being the worst.
But he sucks, and then is then believable at the end when he lets them go. Like, you can buy his turn, because it's like the characters in this movie, whether they're thin, like whether they're very important or minor, like they never feel thin. That's the thing. Like, they're very like. It's just a robustly crafted movie, if you know what I mean. Like every part of it feels thought out. That's the biggest thing.
Well, there's this one with Mr. Gibbs. They have no cannonballs because they were trying to dump weight on the ship. So they're throwing everything they can in the cannon, and somebody grabs Mr. Gibbs' flask. They shoot it at the Black Pearl. Jack Sparrow is in the Black Pearl. He gets the flask. He picks it up, tries to take a drink out of it. It's empty. And then later he returns the flask to Mr. Gibbs. That is how you develop a character right there. It's just like you have a character who has a drinking problem, and you reunite that character with his like love there at the end. So
yeah, there's so much. And like,
and an incredible monkey performance. The monkey.
And I forgot about the post-credit scene with the monkey. Did you?
Yeah, I know, right? So iconic scene. The monkey is like, I'm going to remain undead.
I love that. I watched that and I was just like, this is what a post-credit scene used to be. A little joke. Like, if you ever got one, it was like Ferris Bueller or this. Like, it wasn't like, and by the way, I'm not sure. I don't know if there's any post-credit scenes in the sequels. I can't remember. It's been years since I've seen them, but like, I'm sure those are filled with like portentous, like, oh, like what's coming bullshit that no one cares about. Like, it's like that's the thing. The tone of this movie is so light on its feet. It's so fun, and I just wish they try occasionally. Movies are made that try to capture this kind of thing. We can talk about Jungle Cruise, but there's also like the newest Tomb Raider, which I actually kind of like, but like
I like the new Tomb Raider too. You guys talked about that with you and Sam talked about that, and great.
Yeah, I think that's an entertaining movie. I think Alicia Vikander is the main reason that works because her performance is just like that's a great physical action performance. But regardless, like I like this kind of movie, an adventure movie, which I think is distinct from an action movie and certainly like other genre stuff. And I was thinking about this. It's weird because like since the Indiana Jones trilogy, so since 1989 when Last Crusade comes out, I feel like there have only been a select few of these. I think a lot of that is because a lot of them are not that good. Like, so you get your Sky Captains and the Worlds of Tomorrow's. I pluralized everything in that.
That would have been the sequel.
Your Saharas, your, these kinds of movies. I'm not even really talking shit about those movies.
But speaking of which, you guys had mentioned Sahara on the
Mummy episode.
The Mummy episode. You guys had both not seen it. I have seen Sahara. It's directed by Breck Eisner, Michael Eisner's son.
Who directed the Crazies remake also.
But I thought Sahara is good, so Sahara's a fun movie.
I might check it out. But regardless, this is a genre movie that certainly feels totally dead now. Like occasionally you'll get something like Jungle Cruise or Tomb Raider, but like it's incredibly rare. I made my top 5 adventure films since 1989. So I don't, because you go all the time. You got to go Adventures of Robin Hood, and there's a million obvious ones, and Raiders and all that. But
the African Queen.
We talked about that on the show. But I wanted to do this top 5 list, and here's a few honorable mentions. The first one is a big one. The Mummy is an honorable mention.
Wow!
I will force Sam to become a foe of the show. The Mummy is an honorable mention. There's a few others that probably fit this mold, but generally I was thinking, it has to be either a classic swashbuckling style tale, so pirates, knights, adventure of that sort, or it can't take place anytime after the mid 20th century. You know what I'm saying? So mid 20th century, like even if there's like vaguely superhero trappings, I'm letting one slip in here for that reason. But anyway, my number 5 is not a very good movie. The top 4, I love all of these movies, but my number 5 is not very good, but has some very good elements. It's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, which Costner, my guy, is miscast, but it has a lot of fun stuff about it. The homie Alan Rickman, incredible Sheriff of Nottingham. Morgan Freeman's a lot of fun in this movie, but a solid movie that feels very early 90s, but I enjoy it. Number 4, Joe Johnston's The Rocketeer is my number 4. That's the superhero-ish one. It kind of is a superhero movie, but it's like it doesn't feel like a superhero movie, certainly not in the modern sense. So I went with Rocketeer for my number 4. And my number 3 is this movie, Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. Great movie. We've talked about it for a while now.
Yes, half hour.
My number 2 is The Mask of Zorro, which is an incredible movie. If you should revisit this movie if you haven't seen it in a while. That movie is incredible, has great performances. Like Antonio Banderas, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Anthony Hopkins, all killing it. Love that movie. And my number 1 came out also in 2003.
Ooh.
Also a high seas adventure. Also had a subtitle, even though it was the first film. But this one never actually got a sequel. And I have to go with Master and Commander, the far side of the world, which is Peter Weir, the GOAT, just making an absolute masterpiece.
That was all the rage at the Oscars that year.
There should be 3 of those movies, at least 3 or 4. Incredible stuff. Russell Crowe, Paul Bettany, just a beautiful relationship. Watch them play the fiddle together. You'll just feel so much emotion. All
right.
So I make more of these. That's my point. Just make more movies like this. Although make them better than Jungle Cruise, because as much as I think Jungle Cruise is kind of fun, anytime I watch one of these, I'm like, Jungle Cruise not cutting it.
All right, well, let's parlay this conversation to be about Jungle Cruise here, okay? All right. So there's 2 big things I want to talk about Jungle Cruise. The first thing is the fact that I want to compare these 2 movies as adaptations of rides, okay?
Sure, okay.
So, Pirates of the Caribbean...
let me just point out that as much as I have like a general fascination with the minutia of rides and stuff, I have literally never been to Disney World or Disneyland, and I have no particular first-hand knowledge of either of these rides. So
I know you don't, so I'm going to try to keep it basic, all right? So, Pirates of the Caribbean adapts the whole ride over the course of the whole movie, all right? Which is what makes it more successful for that adaptation. You have skeleton pirates, which is kind of right at the beginning of the ride. You see some skeleton pirates. They become the main villains of the movie. You have a town being raided and a town being attacked by a ship, which is a big opening set piece of the ride. You have Tortuga, which is the town where all the pirates are having a blast. And you got gold, all sorts of gold and swashbuckling going on.
Gold member would love it.
Yeah, and you got there's a scene where there's a person sleeping with pigs. That moment's in there. There's the moment where you have 3 criminals who are behind bars trying to tempt a dog with the key with a bone. That moment's in there. And it's the whole movie that they adapt this ride, all right? And they find every little element. Now, Jungle Cruise, on the other hand, Jungle Cruise adapts the movie within the first 5 minutes of the movie and then abandons the ride.
And turns it in for some of the wildest mythology I have seen in a movie. It is, spoiler alert for Jungle Cruise, when it is revealed that Dwayne is immortal, I was in utter shock.
There is no immortality in Jungle Cruise. There are no undead Spanish conquistadors in Jungle Cruise. There are no Jesse Plemons in submarines.
And Jesse Plemons is amazing.
I love Plemons.
He's
incredible.
Plemons. Never diss Mr. Kirsten Dunst in my presence.
Never. I will never, ever diss Mr. Dunst. He is not in the ride. He should be in the ride. I would agree. We need a Plemons animatronic. I am all right with that. and there are most definitely no trees from Pandora in Jungle Cruise either.
They were obsessed with bioluminescence. I was just like, guys, you got the ultimate bioluminescent blockbuster coming out next year. Avatar 2.
You don't need this bioluminescence. Save it for that bioluminescent spectacular. So, as an adaptation of a ride, this Jungle Cruise just does not work. Jungle Cruise, the writers were just, they didn't care. They didn't care enough about the source material.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think about Pirates of the Caribbean in connection to its source material at all.
Well, I know you don't. I know.
That's the thing. I know it's supposed to be one of the greatest rides of all time. I hope to one day finally ride it. I need to actually go to one of the Disney parks in order to do that. But in general, though, what my biggest problem with the ride elements in Jungle Cruise is they feel very shoehorned in.
Extremely.
I have never ridden Jungle Cruise. I have a vague cultural awareness that Jungle Cruise is about a tour guide making jokes.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole sequence where he's making dumb jokes just feels completely beside the point of the rest of the movie. So, listen, I don't want to come on the Pirates of the Caribbean episode and vehemently defend Jungle Cruise because it's such a pale imitation of the vibe But I'll say this, and I think we may have talked about this on mic. I don't know. We've had so many conversations about this mediocre-ass movie that I don't remember where we had them. But I generally feel like it's my favorite Rock movie in a long time. I think he's giving the most vaguely interesting performance he's given in a while. I think Emily Blunt basically could carry almost anything. I think she's like very easy to watch. I mean that in a just she handles it well, not that she's attractive, which she obviously is. Also, that's part of it, of course. But she's a movie star. But I will say, I just found it to go down easier than I expected. I think it's like, I wish it were better directed is my main thing. I said this on the podcast. If Gore directed this movie or someone of his talent level directed this movie, then I think that would overcome a lot of the script problems. Because if the set pieces were just better, and I don't even know how to specifically talk about how they're if they just held masters longer, if they, you know what I mean, basic action filmmaking stuff, if they were just better crafted as set pieces, then that would lift a lot of the kind of lameness of the script and the Mummy ripoff feeling that is going on with a lot of the character dynamics. That would lift it much higher. Well,
my second point of this movie is probably what I hate about Jungle Cruise the most, and this is why I give this movie 2.5 stars. And it is the brother character McGregor. All right.
Okay. So we're getting into that.
Okay. Before this movie came out, Disney touted this character who is very similar to Jonathan in the Mummy movies.
Very
all right.
Similar, yes.
Disney openly touted that this character is the first openly homosexual character in a Disney movie.
Yes.
Okay. Now let's get into the movie where this moment happens. The Rock and this character McGregor are drinking, which, to compare this to Pirates of the Caribbean again, there's a lot of drinking that happens in Jungle Cruise, but nobody ever gets drunk. At least people get drunk in Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean just feels like it takes place in maybe not our universe, but a real universe, whatever. But that's not true of any modern blockbuster. It's so annoying.
Okay,
anyway.
So anyway, in this scene, the character describes that his interests lie elsewhere. Elsewhere is the word that's used, not that I'm homosexual, I'm gay.
Yes.
He implies that his interests lie elsewhere, which is fine.
Yeah.
Okay, him not saying that he's openly gay. But this has nothing to do with the plot of the movie. This character has no romantic interest in the movie. This character is not being chased romantically by any character. And not only that, this scene is so unconsequential to the plot of the movie that it will be it can be
cut out. I'm sure
cut in the Chinese audience version of the movie.
I'm sure, and I don't disagree with literally anything you just said. I'll say this: this is not a defense at all. Let me be very clear about that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you compare this to previous times that Disney has toted, has been we've got the classic exclusively gay moments, quote unquote, of all these other movies. This is at least obviously, yes, it can be cut out. We can talk about that. But if you see this scene, you're not coming away from the scene with any impression besides that the character is gay. It is not just some background thing. That's not a defense of it in terms of how it functions in the movie or a defense of Disney as a corporation. I'm just saying if this had been what they did 5 years ago, the first time they had an exclusively gay moment, I think people would have been okay with it. And then eventually you build towards something more substantial. But the fact that this is the culmination of a half decade of there's two women kissing in the background in Rise of Skywalker. LeFou, instead of just being coded gay, is maybe really gay, but we actually aren't going to say it. You know what I mean? If you didn't have all of that previous context, I'm not sure if this moment would land as harshly as it has in some places. but that's not really a defense of it. I just feel like it's worth pointing out the broader context of it.
It's just like it serves no point to the story. It doesn't change.
I actually don't even think it's that bad a scene, really. Like, I think they both play it
I don't think
well.
It was a bad.
If it had been followed up on in any way later in the movie, I think then it would be like fine.
It's just like I don't
even mind that he's not an openly gay character. That's fair enough given his position and the time
he can be. He can be flamboyant and not necessarily gay. Like, that's the thing with the Jonathan character in the Mummies movies. Like,
he's definitely like. I mean, that's a kind of a classic Hollywood thing where characters are coded that way, though.
Mm-hmm.
And
the movie just kind of like it makes this little like stop off at a rest stop where they're just like, oh, let's just have a little conversation, and then we'll get back to the movie after we take a little break here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't disagree with any of that. I don't know if that. I mean, that movie's also probably not even going to come out in China, so it seems weird that they would make it cuttable. Regardless, I see where you're coming from with that. I mean, that character didn't really work for me in general, like even before that, but because he felt just very much like Jonathan. Mm-hmm. And I'm not as big a fan of that movie, The Mummy, as a lot of people our age. I went soft on it in our podcast because I didn't want to piss Sam off.
You were so trying hard to make a foe of the show here.
I mean, I don't dislike it. I think it's fun, but I think the way people talk about it is insane. Like, they act like it's Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they need to chill the fuck out. Like it's, again, I don't even have it on my list of post Last Crusade adventure movies, and I don't feel bad about that at all. Like, I don't think, whatever. Anyway, everybody should talk about Mask of Zorro that way. They love talking about how hot everybody is in The Mummy. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, Rachel Weisz, va-va-voom, and etc. Brendan Fraser, incredible. But like, fucking, like, have you seen Mask of Zorro lately? Like, anyway.
All right. I say we vow to never talk about Jungle Cruise again on this show.
Unless we get Sam on to fully debate you. I want a full debate. No, I actually don't. If we get Sam on again, I want to do something more fun. So when we come back, we'll be talking about a Star Wars book, Curse of the Black Hole Pirates, which I think we both liked. So this is going to be a fun convo. Fun convo. So stay tuned, everybody. Welcome back to Padawan Library. I'm Tim May, here as always with Levi Peretic.
Yar.
Still on that pirate theme, because here we are reading Secret Missions number 2. The U.S. Postal Service came through the day after we recorded last week's mini episode.
No shots at the U.S. Postal Service.
Yeah, no shots. It's a difficult time. It's a difficult time. That's why.
We love and respect the Postal Service.
Yeah, that's the name. If you're a YouTube listener, go on our podcast feed and you'll see the name of last week's bonus episode that we recorded, because I had not received the book in the mail yet, is we love and respect the U.S. Postal Service, which we do. The greatest branch, I mean, they're not a branch of the government, that's the wrong terminology, but the greatest part of the U.S. government is the Postal Service.
The only blue lives that matter.
Oh man, incredible stuff. Okay, so should I cut that? I don't want to, but
keep that.
Yeah, whatever. We can shed some listeners. Those listeners, we don't need those listeners. All right, so incredible.
I'd be shocked if we had any of those listeners.
Yeah, after some of the shit we've said on the show. Okay, so all right. Regardless. So we're picking up from 2 weeks ago. We read Secret Missions number 1. This is Ryder Wyndham, by the way.
Yep. I can't remember the subtitle of that one.
I don't either.
Breakout Squad.
Breakout Squad, which continues to be what this is about, by and large. If you recall, you have a Chiss Jedi apprentice named Nuru, who is separated from his master. His master's been kidnapped in the first book. He's in the possession of Dooku. Weird way to say that, but the Dooku possesses him, not spiritually. He owns him. Nuru, he's a young Chiss boy and he's been sent by Chancellor Palpatine with this squad of clone troopers: Breaker, Knuckles, Sharp, Chatterbox, and they've teamed up with a cargo pilot named Lalo Gunn, who is like, you know, a cool rogue, and she has a ship called the Hasty Harpy, and they're on their way to Chiss space because somebody from the Chiss Ascendancy has reached out a hand of friendship
from the outer rim.
From not the outer rim, the outer regions, my guy. So, reached out a hand to Chancellor Palpatine, supposedly, anyway. So they have to head to Chiss space and have a diplomatic mission. They're like, well, we have this young Chiss Jedi boy, so he should lead the mission, even though he's never done anything. So that's the setup for this book. And we actually get about 40, 50 pages right at the top where it's just them on the long space mission through the to Chiss space. And it's like
10 days. It takes 10 days to get there.
And it's Nuru and Lalo and the droid and all the clone troopers all like just having good bonding character moments. I really enjoyed this. Normally the books we read for this podcast do not have the room for this kind of thing, but this book is supersized, baby. It's almost 200 pages long.
Mm-hmm. They take the room. They take Ryder Wyndham. He takes the time to develop these characters. Also, too, there's a scene right at the beginning of this book. We get a little more Cad Bane.
I forgot. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, okay, because Cad Bane is essentially watching snuff films at the beginning of this movie.
He's watching like Skate Days Volume 1, but for bounty hunters.
Yeah, he's watching the Bounty Hunters Guild's Greatest Hits Volume 7.
Yeah, he's just like...
a edited collection of hollow-corded assassinations.
Yeah, he's like watching Bones Brigade videos and shit.
And also, too, there's this moment, too, where he's like, he found the two Trandoshans especially entertaining. Kradosk... Wait, hang on. Kratos was the Bounty Hunter Guild's leader, and Bosk was his son. They never agreed and fought constantly. Bane thought they were a riot. Like,
it's so weird. And like, I want to know, like, so bounty hunters, are they like skateboarders where they create videos? Mm-hmm. Like that? No, that's what I was saying. Like, yeah, that's what I mentioned, Bones Brigade. But like, I like, it's so weird. Like, it's funny. Like I'm not mad about this. I thought it was funny, like really funny. But like,
this is totally inconsequential to the plot.
Yeah,
but it is so worth talking about.
Cad Bane never returns in this book. I assume he'll play a role in the third or fourth book. But like, so it was just very funny. You know, these books, by the way, have fully won me over. I really like these books a lot. Like, I'm really excited to keep reading them. But. Mm-hmm. Let's get into it. So yeah, we get that opening sequence. There's that one opening thing with Cad Bane, but then there's about 40 or 50 pages where before they arrive in Chiss space, where it's really just like building out these characters and like especially building out Lalo or Gunn, as we'll call her, because that's how she's referred to in the book mostly, and the four clone troopers, and like they do a very good job. Like, Clone Troopers, and again, I have yet to watch The Bad Batch. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But in general, I feel like there are some episodes of Clone Wars where the Clone Troopers are very well characterized, and other ones where even if they're the main characters, they feel identical. Like, you know what I mean? There is nothing. But these characters, I feel like they're not like fully fleshed out the way that Nuru or Lalo are really, but they do feel like they at least comprise a full character together, if that makes sense.
Well, one thing we should talk about, the big development with Lalo, is that Lalo, she's got the hots for Chatterbox.
I know, she wants to fuck him
so badly, and she is just like, the fact that she forces him to come to the cockpit and do the navigation, like he's iconic, like standing behind, trying to stay behind, and she's like, she literally like grabs him by the collar and drags him into the cockpit.
Just amazing shit from Lalo, I have to say. So yeah, they. But anyway, so they get to Chiss Space pretty
No,
without too much
I
issue
want to backtrack
initially.
one more time.
Okay.
The reason we have the Cad Bane scene is because he delivers Jedi Master and base. Okay.
To Dooku, etc.
He actually it's to Ventress.
Oh yeah, who then
Saj,
delivers it to
who
Dooku.
I think this isn't okay. We've had Ventress was in a Boba Fett book, wasn't she?
She must have been.
I swear she's on the cover of one of them, right?
Yeah.
Thoughts on Ventress? Because we did thoughts on Bane last week.
All right, yeah, we haven't really talked about her. Maybe we did, but whatever.
No, I don't recall.
It was a year and a half ago if we did.
It was a bad book series.
Yeah, and those are the most forgettable episodes of the entire show, I think.
They really are.
I'm not anti-Ventress or pro-Ventress. She feels like a character that at the right level, I can enjoy her presence.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like stuff where she's the main character. Those aren't my favorite Clone Wars episodes. And I've never read a book
Sith
about
Witch
her.
episodes.
I kind of like those, actually. I don't know. Maybe
I like those because she tries to assassinate Dooku in his bed, and Dooku has a bed that's like 4 times longer than he is. It's this massive.
Well, it's great
bed.
because Dooku is so long. It's a perfect,
he is.
It's a
he
perfect
is.
fit
And they're
for
like,
him.
we got to make this bed make him look small, so they put him in this massive bed.
If you have a long head, it's like if you're from Utapau, you need to have a long bed too. You know what I mean? You need to have that long head, baby. All right. That's the gyrocopter from Road Warrior.
Yes, I do know that.
Yeah, that's
he
cool.
isn't he like the only actor to
He's
have
in Lord of the
appeared-
Rings too.
Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter too, right?
I think he's also in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I don't know who he plays in either of those off top, but yeah, regardless, fun fact. Anyway, so
BS that Warwick was not in Lord of the Rings, by the way.
Yeah, and it's weird he didn't make it into even the Hobbit movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's not really any role for him in Lord of the Rings. Like, really? Like, do you want to replace Elijah Wood with Warwick?
No, of course not.
You know, or Sean Astin, or come on, yeah, we're not.
Dominic Monaghan.
Yeah, like any of the 4 Hobbits. No, we're not doing that. I guess he could have been in a background shot, like at the beginning when they're shutting off the fireworks and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, Lord of the Rings is fucking good. Holy shit! Just referencing that fireworks scene, I'm just like, oh fuck! I can't believe how good it is. I'm shaking at how good it is. Anyway, yeah. Okay, so I think though that there's he definitely could have made it somewhere in one of the movies as a background actor. Maybe he tried out. Maybe he auditioned for Frodo and was like, Frodo or nothing, baby. All right, so
Ventress. We were talking about Ventress.
Ventress. I mean, yeah, she's not one of my favorites, but I've never had any problem with her.
Same. Don't love her, don't hate her. So she's fine.
Yeah,
and she shows up in
this book. A lot of original Clone Wars characters from either the Clone Wars Multimedia Project or from the show. Mm-hmm. Even though I love the Gendy Clone Wars and I love the Filoni Clone Wars, some of my favorite Star Wars stuff is contained in those things. There are very few original Clone Wars characters from either of those eras that I care about.
Well, I'd say Ahsoka's number 1.
Of course. And then, she transcends.
Then Rex transcends. And then maybe Cad Bane after that.
Cad Bane's cool. I feel like there's other minor characters that pop up occasionally that I like, but if we're talking about the regular villains and stuff, they're acceptable, solid villains. You know, I count Grievous amongst this too, by the way.
Because Grievous is most fleshed out there.
But because that's where he first appears too. So I generally it's fun, but it's what it is. Anyway, let's move on to they get to Chiss Space. They find a star base. The star base is
they think they're actually going to the planet.
Yeah, but they wind up getting boarded by the representative of the Chiss Ascendancy that they're going to deal with. What is her name? Well, I'm not going to say her full name because it's impossible to pronounce.
No, it's impossible to say. Varen.
Vereen.
Vereen. Yeah, that's.
I can't tell. Vereen, you might be right. Viren. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I say it however you feel like. But she is a Chiss girl, not too much older than Nuru, so we might have some Obi-Wan series stuff going on here. Is all I'm saying.
He's like,
and the clones,
so
by the way,
too.
later on, the clones. It's not like they haven't taken note of that because they're just like, Nuru wants to get. Okay. I'm not going to say.
Yeah, but Nuru's also never seen like another Chiss either. Apparently,
he's completely unfamiliar with the culture and like realizes as on that long trip that he's actually excited to meet other Chiss. Like it's not just about like fulfilling his mission. He hopes to get something personally out of this trip too, but he doesn't really because, or at least not initially, because Viren is not very welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
She's just like, listen, like we are a neutral party. We don't want to deal with the Republic or the Separatists. So I just want to make that clear. Like,
because they had detected ships in their sector before. Yeah. So the reason she met with them was to just tell them.
That's the reason the hand was reached out.
Yeah, if it's you, stay out. That's the whole point of the meeting.
And at first, Nuru is like offended by that, but then he's like, I'm a Jedi. I'll handle this. And he's just like, all right, cool. It was nice meeting you. It took us 10 days, but we'll go back 10 days. And just as they're about to leave, an attack occurs from Separatist ships who followed them into Chiss space. And Viren is like, what the fuck is this? Like, you guys led them here. How do I even know they're Separatists? We don't know anything about this geopolitical situation. Like, So, all that's happening. They get attacked. She gets knocked out during one of the blasts. The ship is the base is going to collapse. So Nuru saves her, brings her onto the hasty harpy, and then Lalo Gunn is just like, we have to get out of here. I'm jumping to hyperspace, and he's just like, but she like, they're gonna miss. She's a Chiss representative. They're gonna be pissed off about this. But she's like, it doesn't matter. We need to save our lives. They jump to hyperspace on the same route, supposedly back where they were where they had come from, and this is no good for Viren. Viren's just like, this is trash, and she just basically keeps repeating her title, which I believe she's like a member of the second family of Chiss or whatever it is. I don't know. So she won't talk to anybody, and they're like, we'll figure out a way to get you back, but we just got to get out of danger. But we also don't have any navigation tools, so we have to get back to someplace where we can use our ship's computers, basically. And then, hours into this trip, they are ripped from hyperspace. Ripped, I say! just taken straight out of hyperspace by, what is it? By a black hole. And you're like, whoa, a black hole? Last I checked, the title is about black hole pirates. Are pirates about to show up?
Yarr! The pirates show up. And they get boarded. And there is
including a friend of ours, Boss. One of our best friends.
Yeah, former best friend
of the show, Boss.
Friend of the show, Boss.
We should have Boss on again, I think.
We should have Boss on again. Maybe we can turn him from foe back to friend. So Boss comes on, and they have there's a guy who you think is the leader, and then this other guy shows up. The other guy who is actually the leader of the pirates, his name, they call themselves the Black Hole Pirates, and his name is McGregor. I believe his name is.
Yeah, that's how I was saying it, McGregor.
McGregor. Also, too, the way McGregor is described in the book, to me, read as a description of the original Jabba the Hutt from that deleted scene in A New Hope.
Oh, okay, I could see that.
Yeah. That's just how it read to me.
Or from the Marvel Comics adaptation, which... I'm just saying, maybe one day.
Maybe one day we'll talk about that. And then, so anyway, so they get boarded, and then they take them all aboard, and they say, well, they're like, Laylo, she's like, we gotta leave, we gotta get out of here now. And he's like, nope, nobody leaves here.
And like at first you're like, he's gonna keep them hostage, but he's just like, no, you're just not getting out of here. We've been trapped here forever.
Yeah,
like which I liked. That was a great turn. They were cursed. Exactly. It is. There are many similarities. Like it feels like they played into the similarities with Curse of the Black Pearl.
You best start believing the Force, Lalo.
The Jedi Temple, they don't lay out rules. They're more like guidelines, etc. All right, so I couldn't come up with a good joke. I had to finish. Let's go.
That's such a funny joke.
Oh, it's a great joke in the movie. It's iconic joke. They reference it too many times in the sequels. That's how good a joke it is that they like go overboard on it in the sequels.
So anyway, they can't escape because of the black hole. So the pirates, they're like, yep, we just keep adding to the crew. Everybody who gets stuck over here by the black hole.
The only people that haven't joined our crew, that refuse to join our crew because they don't appreciate pirates, are this Sulliston couple who we let live on this moon, or not moon, a planet, in the system. I can't remember the name of the planet, but this is Sulliston couple, and like they're living down there and like doing scientific research or whatever. So ultimately,
it's at this point, Nuru, he reveals himself to be a Jedi because they are like, well, they're going to kill us. So he quickly turns on them with the help of Cleaver, their droid.
Yes.
Also
Christopher Moltisanti's movie.
Christopher Moltisanti's movie. Yep.
By the way, I've seen Many Saints of Newark 2 times.
I
saw it last night again, so I'm very much looking forward to talking to you about it.
Oh, okay. I'm seeing it today, and my father has seen it, and he was so excited to call me afterwards and tell me about it. And I was like, do not spoil this movie. If you spoil this movie, I will hang up on you. And I kept having to threaten to hang up on him.
We'll talk about it next week. So
yes, we'll talk all about those Multisantes next week.
The many saints.
The many saints. So Nuru reveals himself to be a Jedi, and at this point he's thinking McGregor is going to be pissed about this, but McGregor couldn't be more happy about this because guess what? There is a temple on the planet where they abandoned those 2 scientists, and they need a Jedi to open the temple. And the temple is, what do they call it? It's a certain type of gate. I can't remember what they called it.
Galaxy Gate.
A Stargate, obviously. It's very similar to
Stargate. My God. When I saw Many Saints last night, there was a trailer for a new Roland Emmerich movie called Moonfall with Halle Berry.
I've heard of that. I have not seen the trailer for it yet. It looks
terrible. I mean, that's expected. But I was like, I made a joke during it. I had not heard of it. I made a joke during it. I was like, what is this, some new Roland Emmerich shit? And then at the end it says directed by Roland Emmerich. I was laughing so hard. I couldn't believe it. All right.
Let's see. What do they call this gate?
One day we'll find it. We're both flipping through our book right now.
So anyway, they go down to the planet. They meet the scientist, and it's an Infinity Gate.
Infinity Gate.
And these were, I guess, made by the Jedi, they're
by the way, McGregor's ship is called the Random Mallet. What is that?
Great name. Yeah, not a great name.
Ryder, is that some in joke between you and your role play buddies or something?
You know who is role play? He might have role play buddies because at the back of the book there is a dedication to this. It's for Henry Gilroy,
who wrote for Clone Wars.
Oh, okay.
He was a Clone Wars writer. Yeah.
And then it says, big thanks to Jason Fry with co-author Dan Wallace, the Star Wars Essential Atlas, who generously plotted the hyperspace routes in this story. Jason Fry, we know from before, is
Servants of the Empire masterpiece.
He is a big Star Wars cartographer. He loves the maps.
That's true. But I wanted to just point out again, Servants of the Empire, the ultimate masterpiece. Maybe the best thing we've read for this podcast. All right. So anyway, so they could open this Infinity Gate is the idea, but there had been an incident where an Infinity Gate was open and it swallowed up an entire planet, about 10 years earlier. So they meet with the Sulliston couple, And they're like, we know all about that. Like, in fact, we let the Jedi Council know about that happening. Like, and then on our way back home to Sullust, that's when we got caught by this black hole. So they know it's a risk, but like nobody else is living on this planet. Like, if everybody's willing to take that risk, then we can do that. So then there's a big set piece where, like, to get to the Infinity Gate, there's all these beasties. They got to fight a bunch of beasties, and ultimately he's able to open the Infinity Gate.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's not a lot. We could go beat by beat through this action sequence, which I think is fine, by the way. I'm not talking shit on the action sequence, but I don't know if there's much to discuss.
It's pretty stock. Beasties, big beasties. He gets eaten by one of the beasties at point.
Oh yeah,
him and Varen get eaten by a beastie, and
I thought it was going to be like a Jonah and the whale thing, but they kind of get out of it pretty quick. Like I was like, maybe the next act of this book is all just like them and the whale.
Yeah, there's also, but there is some. We should bring up there is some animosity between Nuru and Bosk. They keep bringing this, and when they get eaten, Bosk starts shooting the worm. Or whatever it is. I read it as a worm. And the shots pierce the creature, but almost nearly hit them inside of it. So it's like...
Well, he also keeps talking about wanting to eat them, doesn't know how blue people taste. He was excited about that. Does it taste like blue raspberry? I don't know.
McGregor also is like not a fan of like Bosk either. At the end of the book, he's like, yeah, he's going to be relieved of my first mate here pretty soon. But also from the beginning of the book, we find out that Bosk's dad is apparently the head of the Bounty Hunters Guild, and they're always quarreling. So I'm assuming they had some sort of a quarrel, and that's why.
I didn't know Bosk was like the Donald Trump Jr. of like.
I didn't know either.
Of Bounty Hunters, like that's an interesting wrinkle. I mean, so there's then there was they get the Infinity Gate opened and they fly through it. Everybody gets out, and they wind up right back in Chiss space where they initially met Viren. And so this is a whole thing where what happens here? I'm blanking now.
They take her back to her ship, and she says, "You guys are all free to go. We're not blaming you guys for the attack. We know that was from the Separatists." Which also we have a moment here where they what's that guy's name? The guy who's the same species as Wat Tambor. He was Overseer Umbrag. He was the one who led the attack, but apparently once he took the base, he ordered all his troops back to some other planet rather than stay with them. Like, he orders the whole fleet away. So the pirates attack, because there's this moment too where like Nuru is like, "Oh, Overseer Umbrag," and they're like, and McGregor is like, "Who's that?" And he's like, "Oh, he's just this bad guy." And he's like, "Well, if he's an enemy of yours, he's an enemy of mine." And they attack him. So anyway, they drop off Viren. She's like, "I'm gonna let all you go, including you pirates. You're all free to go." And but then there's this moment too where like Nuru, he would say his name. He said his name the first time he said his name to Viren. She like it said she sneered, and whenever he did it again, well, she said it. She sneered or whatever, and he goes, "Well, why are you doing that?" And it's explained that somehow Nuru was found in an escape pod by himself, and there was a data cylinder that had his name on it.
Yeah.
And she reveals that his name was mispronounced, and that she gives him his actual name, which I will not say because it is too complicated. Yeah. But he is also a member of the second ruling family. So that's
going to come into play at some point.
Yeah, so, and him and Viren are related.
So they can't fuck.
He knew it the whole time. But never spilled the beans on this. So
I mean, she clearly was not feeling the same vibes.
No, without a doubt. No,
he was just like, whoa.
What? This is unrelated. I sent you a text. I posted this on the Instagram too. I found one of those audio books from 1995 that
yes.
John Whitman produced. It was Tales of the Jedi, the Sith Lords,
Yeah.
and it is the chronicle of the fall of Exar Kun.
Oh yeah,
And then,
sure.
and then he ends up on Yavin 4, and there is the Massassi on the planet. So it had some ties to those, those Junior
That's
Jedi Knights
awesome.
books.
Yeah, I have the Dark Empire audio drama on tape. I listened to it once. It was okay, if I recall. But yeah, I mean, Dark Empire. I have some fondness for that comic.
Yeah, this was just okay too. The Exar Kun voice was very silly. I keep doing my own impression of the Exar Kun voice, and then
you got to do it now too.
Oh, okay. You dare defy me? I am the great Exar Kun. I am all powerful. It's kind of like that. He kind of sounds a little like Kyle MacLachlan, and then.
A Captain Planet villain.
And then there's also the ghost of Frieden Nad, who is like a dead Sith Lord too, who's very kind of Sheev-like. So
sure.
The two of them together are quite fun.
Fun times.
Yeah, we listened to that while we were on the road. It was 2 hours long. It was a good time. So I would listen to more of this John Whitman. I've also never listened to the radio dramas either, so I would love to listen to those.
I mean, you could probably find those online pretty easily.
They're on YouTube, yeah.
Yeah. So. All right. So at this point, yeah, they're sent back, and they're given another mission, right? Like, is that?
I don't know if they're given another mission right away, but we are told what the next mission is. If in the preview for the next book, they.
Oh, sure. Well, it's not an epilogue, but it's the last part of the book it goes back to Nuru's master. Who was, what's his name again?
Master Ombase.
Master Ombase, who is in the custody of Dooku. Dooku is self-justifying him off a storm.
He's possessed by Dooku.
Yeah, Dooku is possessing him. He's owning him. He's like, he bought him and can sell him. But he's basically, explaining again why he left the order and how he tried to warn the Jedi Council.
Yeah,
about
he tried to tell Obi-Wan like the Republic's under the control of a Sith Lord by the name of Darth Sidious. Obviously, Obi-Wan didn't believe me. So, and Ombase can't speak at the moment. He's apparently suffered a traumatic cardio event, and he can't speak. He was brought in with a clone trooper. The clone trooper is Sharp, and Sharp is the one who fills him in here as to what happened. Now,
if you remember, Sharp is a member of the Breakout Squad, and there had been some suspicion on the part of a couple other members of the Breakout Squad that somebody was that maybe this whole black hole thing was a setup by someone. That someone's pulling the strings,
and somebody tampered with the escape pods too to begin with. So they suspect that a member of the Breakout Squad is in fact a traitor.
Yeah, we find out at the end of the book that it was in fact Sharp. So Sharp is sharpening his knives as we speak. If you know what I mean.
Well, Sharp also is there to convince Ombase that the saboteur is Nuru himself, and this sends Ombase into like a cardiac episode. He's like, I can't deal, my heart cannot deal with that thought. And then we have a Sheev Dooku moment where Dooku keeps saying everything is going just as I foreseen, and soon we will have an alliance with the Chiss because of this. And they also talk about Bosk, because Dooku is like, oh, Bosk nearly screwed all this stuff up, and Dooku was like, no, it's okay, because they're obviously Bosk and Nuru must meet again. He's factoring it all in. He's got it all plotted out. We still have no idea what he's plotting, but the fact that Sheev is plotting this whole series is so fun.
Indeed, I love Sheev. This cliffhanger got me excited for the third book. Which, are we actually reading that next week? Do we know yet?
I think we're reading that next week.
All right.
Let me look at the calendar. I think we're reading, because the 22nd is when we're going to have Franco back on the show.
Yeah, and we got to get Dark Legends in before the end of October.
Right. Okay. We can do that.
Okay.
Next, next week we'll do the third book in this series.
Great.
Week after that, the 22nd, which will actually, the episode will come out on Saturday. It'll be a 23rd episode.
Yeah.
We will be doing The Mighty Chewbacca and the Forest of Fear.
Indeed.
And then on the 29th will be George Mann's Dark Legends.
And here's what I decided as far as George Mann.
Okay.
Because we were talking about Michael Mann, doing a Michael Mann episode. But I'm actually thinking it's called Dark Legends. Let's go with Diet Michael Mann, Sir Ridley Scott, and let's watch Legend with Tom Cruise.
Okay. All right. I'm fine with that.
You and I
Ridley.
will...
Ooh. We could also talk about Last Duel, because that
comes out next week.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So next week we'll be talking Many Saints of Newark.
Along
after that,
with Book 3, the Duel at Shattered Rock.
So that's not a tie into the book, but we have to do a deep dive on Many Saints. So, and then
the fans demand it. The listeners want it.
Listeners, more than one for sure. And then we do. Then when we do Mighty Chewbacca and the Forest of Fear, we're going to talk about Fritz Lang's Ministry of Fear from 1944. To go with that, Franco always raising the level of cinephilia. And then we are going to talk Ridley Scott's Legend and Dark Legends. That's the rest of the month for us, and then we'll wrap up this series in November. So,
yep. Yeah. So that's where we're at. Oh, we didn't rate this book. 7.
I go a little higher. I go 8. I really liked it. I'm really enjoying this series. I think the character work is very strong, which outside of Jude and the masterpiece Servants of the Empire, I feel like the character work is almost always the problem with these kinds of books. And this book has pretty high levels of good, strong character-based scenes. So I appreciate that. Shouts to Ryder Wyndham.
When they're talking about how they got off course and ended up at the black hole, then they're like, Chatterbox and Layla were the ones in the cockpit. Wouldn't they have been paying attention? And then this is where the saboteur comes in, and it's just like, well, wait a minute. Like I took that as they were just like, they were doing something, and then they knocked the ship off, of course. But anyway, unrelated.
I appreciate that. Lalo Chatterbox. This is my ultimate couple.
This is the ultimate ship. I agree. They're cupping for sure.
Oof. All right. Let's wrap this up. So next week is Many Saints of Newark and book 3 of this series. But before that, though, just enjoy your life. Go see the new Bond movie. I'm excited about the new Bond movie.
Go see the new Bond, yep. Go see Venom, because Venom was fun. I had fun at Venom.
You let there be carnage last night.
I let there be carnage. I sure did. Well, I let there be carnage because I was on Fandango, and it said that the card counter was playing at this theater. I wasn't going to go to the movies last night. I drove 30 minutes to go see the card counter. And I get there, and they're like, you want to see what? And I'm like, the card counter. And they're like, is that like the subtitle of the movie? And I'm like, no, the movie's just called the card counter. I was so disrespected. I felt so stupid. And they're like, well, the only movie we're showing right now is Venom, Let There Be Carnage. And I'm like, all right, we're seeing this. So
you can't drive a half hour.
You can't drive a half hour. Yep. So anyway,
God.
Until the books are due back, unless you have something else to say.
I've just been rewatching the Craig Bonds this week. I'm halfway through. Nice. Watch Casino Royale, masterpiece again, and then Quantum of Solace, anti-masterpiece, the opposite of a masterpiece. And I'm going to watch Skyfall when I'm done editing this podcast. And then I'm going to watch Spectre tomorrow morning. I'm going to watch Spectre again tomorrow morning, and then I'm going to go see No Time to Die in the afternoon. I'm very excited.
Wow, you were
Very excited.
bonding up.
Love Bond, and I'm very excited for this movie. So I'll let people know what I think, but we're going to focus, I promise, on many things as much as possible.
It's so relevant at that point. So
well, whatever. It doesn't matter. Who cares?
Doesn't matter.
We don't talk about we don't care about relevance. We don't need to be part of the conversation. The quote unquote conversation is part of what's ruining film culture. I won't get into it
until the books are due back.
The library's closed. God damn it. Padawan Library is hosted and produced by Tim May and Levi Peretic. It is edited by Tim May. Our theme song is by The Astral Project. Our artwork is by Freddie Funbuns. Padawan Library is copyright 2021. Tim May and Levi Peretic. All rights reserved.